let's watch this video. Make sure you like, share and comment. After watching it, please come back, let's discuss about it in the comment section. Thank you.
The regime has lost control in Iran. Now the cards are not being reshuffled, the owner of the table is returning. Control of the capital is slipping from the regime's grasp, minute by minute, street by street, falling into the hands of millions chanting the Shah's name. From Baluchistan to Khorasan, from Tabriz to Khuzestan, from Hamadan to Tehran, a nation of 92 million has overcome the wall of fear. The entire country is being shaken by massive riots. There is no longer fear in the streets, only angry Iranians who say, and a full-blown civil war is underway. Now, this is going to be a controversial topic, and I don't care if YouTube doesn't promote it. I'm going to expose the truth anyways. Controversial topics like this one end up getting suppressed by the algorithm, except when you force the algorithm to promote it by clicking on the like button. And in this civil war, it is awakening from theocratic darkness and marching toward its king. What you see is not an ordinary outburst of anger. This is a counter-revolution launched by a spirit that was thought to have ended in 1979, now seeking to reclaim its throne in 2026.
I'm more than ever ready to step in Iran as soon as the situation warrants itself, and I'll be there with my compatriots to lead the ultimate battle.
The regime is in a state of complete panic, and Khamenei has declared war on his own people.
There's no point in talking to a rioter. A rioter needs to be put in his place.
But it's too late now, because the Iranian people have made their decision. They are putting an end to the most ruthless religious tyranny in history. They are not returning to autocracy, but to their roots. So why the Shah? Why are millions of people calling for the return of a dynasty they overthrew 40 years ago, chanting, "Death to the dictator"? Because this is not a political choice. It is a choice between civilization and barbarism. This is a total rejection of the 1979 revolution, the ideology brought by Khomeini, and the very reason for the existence of the Islamic Republic. Iranians want to erase the last 47 years from their country's history, calling those years a nightmare and waking up. The people see in Prince Reza Pahlavi not just a leader, but a stolen future, modernity, and honor. His reception in Egypt like a head of state is proof of the legitimacy accorded to him. And the bravest face of this revolution: women. Those women, who were forcibly covered for years, are now setting fire to the pieces of cloth that symbolize that tyranny. As they dance around the flames, they are actually blasting the regime's 47-year imposition to smithereens. Men no longer stand in front of them to protect them. They are fighting shoulder to shoulder. Everything began when a spark ignited a fire at a moment the regime never anticipated. The uprising has now been going on for over a week, and we are seeing an uncontrollable firestorm across the map of Iran. The Revolutionary Guards, or IRGC, and the Basij militia, marketed by the regime as an iron fist, are experiencing complete disintegration in the strategic depths of the country in just 7 days. Verified field data and open-source OSINT intelligence we have received prove that more than 70 cities have simultaneously slipped out of the regime's control, far beyond the chaos centered in Tehran. This map is not just a protest route, it is proof of how the regime's logistics and security lines have been systematically shut down. Images coming in from the Merdast region in particular take the gravity of the situation to a tactical level. Civilians are not just chanting slogans, they are physically seizing police stations, symbols of the regime's apparatus of repression, and sweeping security forces out of the area. Reports indicate that regime forces have completely lost control in this area and are threatening the people with conflict in desperation. However, contrary to expectations, this scare tactic has acted as a catalyst, further fueling the anger rather than sending the people home. The most striking example of asymmetric warfare on the ground is taking place in the Nurabad region of Shiraz and Fars province. These were areas considered to be strongholds of the regime's traditional base, but today the streets have turned into bastions of resistance. Armed with stones and simple defensive tools, the people are standing up to the regime's armored vehicles and fully equipped militias, and, incredibly, winning these clashes through numerical superiority and moral motivation. What is happening in the Shahryar region and at the western gates of Tehran is a tactical turning point. The regime's Special Operations Units, i.e. NOPO, were expected to suppress these points within minutes, but they have been under the control of the resistance for hours, even days. The slogans echoing in the darkness of the night, "Don't be afraid, we are all together," show that the division in society has ended and that everyone is acting as one. In Loristan province, the people physically expelled members of the regime's paramilitary force, the Besik, from their areas. This shows that state authority has not only weakened, but has also been effectively expelled by the people. Scenes of Besik members removing their uniforms and fleeing or being neutralized by the people are moments that wipe out the regime's illusion of invincibility. The greatest evidence of this tactical collapse is the lowering of flags in strategic port cities and energy centers like Bushehr. The images from Bushehr show not just the lowering of a piece of cloth, but the destruction of the state's claim to sovereignty, the most visible symbol of that sovereignty in that geography. With government buildings burning and provincial offices occupied, the regime's officials scrambling to find a way to escape proves that the concept of authority has evaporated. There are two pillars that keep a regime standing: economy and security. In Iran, both pillars have simultaneously collapsed. What is happening on the security front in particular is a complete nightmare scenario for Khamenei. Under normal circumstances, when there is an uprising, the army and police step in, disperse the crowd, and restore order. However, that historic photo taken in the Tehran subway shows that the equation has changed. Two uniformed military personnel are seen carrying not the flag of the Islamic Republic, but the lion and sun flag of the Shah era. This is not simple insubordination. It is proof that the chain of command in the lower ranks of the army is fractured, and that loyalty now lies not with Khamenei, but with the nation's historical roots. If a soldier, while wearing his uniform, carries the flag of the monarchy he wants to restore, rather than the flag of the regime he is supposed to overthrow, the game is over for that regime. The regime's greatest power, fear, has now changed sides. In the past, the people feared the Revolutionary Guards. Now, the Revolutionary Guards are afraid to go out on the streets in their uniforms. In many cities, especially in the suburbs of Tehran and in the countryside, there are reports of security forces trying to escape in civilian clothes, abandoning their vehicles. On the economic front, the situation is nothing short of catastrophic. The Tehran Stock Exchange has collapsed, the rial is at its lowest value in history, and shopkeepers are closing their shutters, bringing economic life to a halt. The closure of hundreds of shops in Tehran and Isfahan shows that the traditional merchant class, known as the bazaar, has also turned its back on the regime. Historically, whatever the bazaar says in Iran goes. They overthrew the Shah in 1979, and now they are overthrowing Khamenei. When the money runs out, the loyalty of mercenaries also ends. This is the universal rule of dictatorships. For years, the Iranian regime has funneled oil revenues to the Houthis in Yemen and Hezbollah in Lebanon instead of distributing them to the people. Now that money has dried up, sanctions have tightened, and the regime has no source left to feed its own security forces. A police officer who is hungry and cannot see a future has no motivation to fire on his own people. This is the main reason for the retreat we are seeing on the ground right now. The regime may try to appear strong to the outside world, but it is rotten from within. And that rotten structure has been destroyed with the first kick from the people. Now let's step outside this chaotic picture and look at the bigger strategic picture. Because what we are seeing is an inevitable strategic checkmate for the Khamenei regime and the radical ideology it represents. It is not difficult to imagine the atmosphere currently in Khamenei's palace: pure panic. His appearance on state television shouting, "We will not back down in the face of the enemy, we will bring them to their knees," rallying the crowd behind him to chant slogans against America and Israel, is not the show of strength of a powerful leader, but the last gasps of a dictator cornered. But what Khamenei does not understand, or does not want to understand, is this. The crowd he calls the enemy is no longer outside, but right at the gates of his palace. And what is even more ironic is that the Iranian people are asking for help from the very countries Khamenei has declared to be the devil. A rare event in history is unfolding. Iranians are openly appealing to Israel in the streets and on social media, begging, "Please stop this regime, help us." This situation is the final nail in the coffin of the Khamenei regime's ideological legitimacy. When a people sees their government's greatest enemy as their savior in order to get rid of that government, that regime is effectively finished. Iranians are not fighting for Yemen or Lebanon, but for their own freedom. By chanting, "Neither Gaza nor Lebanon, my life for Iran," they are trampling on the regime's entire foreign policy and the axis of resistance fairy tale. And of course, the elephant in the room, Donald Trump. President Trump's return and the reinstatement of the maximum pressure policy on Tehran have cut off the regime's lifeline. Any potential massacre of the protesters, whom Khamenei calls provocateurs, could be considered a direct cause for war by Washington. In the UK, statements by some MPs, such as Adnan Hussein, warning, "Don't intervene in Iran, it will cause a refugee crisis," show how disconnected they are from the reality on the ground. On the contrary, Iran's liberation will create a wave of reverse migration, enabling millions of Iranians to return to their country. The world must prepare to see Iran not as a source of refugees, but as a reborn economic and cultural power. The aftershocks of this geopolitical earthquake will be felt in Lebanon, Yemen, and Syria. When Tehran falls, Hezbollah cannot pay salaries, and the Houthis cannot launch missiles. When the mothership sinks, the lifeboats have no chance of survival. Every police station burning in Tehran actually means the financing of global terrorism has been cut off. Ultimately, what we are witnessing now is not a temporary crisis of a regime or a suppressible uprising. It is the absolute and definitive moment of collapse of an era. The smoke rising in the skies over Tehran that night is actually the incense of the political funeral of the Khamenei regime. The Iranian people are correcting a historic mistake made 47 years ago with blood, tears, and unwavering courage. The long, dark, and cold winter that began in 1979 is ending in these fiery nights of 2026. The Shah's return is not merely the restoration of a dynasty, it is Iran's return to the civilized world, to reason, science, art, and a dignified future. Khamenei's threats, the rusted weapons of the Revolutionary Guards, or the regime's collapsing propaganda are futile from this moment onward. Because when the time comes, no army can stop an idea. And that idea is this: Iran belongs to the Iranians, not the mullahs. Events may not yet be over, conflicts may continue, but history